Yeah, so I did recently get engaged. Leah is a very interesting character. She's great. She's definitely someone that you should know. She's a world changer. No. So she, I remember the first time that I actually took her to meet my mum, and I took her the scenic route because it's beautiful. It's nice. It's through the Boondall wetlands. If anyone's been up that way. Yeah. See, some people really don't like it, but I do. I really like it through there. So I don't know what it is, but like there's something that I find really peaceful driving through the long roads and the winding and all the trees and whatever. But yeah, so on the way, I actually I was telling Leah about my family, and I said to her, my mum is actually she's married to a woman, which is not something you hear every day, which is cool, she's fine. And that, of course, brought up a lot of questions for Leah, so she's like, hammering me with questions, really. She just wanted to know, who's your dad? Yeah, so it's a bit of a convoluted story, but I sort of explained. I was like, I was about 7 years old and I just started at a new primary school. It was a small school and it was like the middle of term, so obviously the kids were really curious. They wanted to know about me, they asked me questions, and I remember telling them I'm Jamie Ogden and my sister goes here and she's Sarah Ogden and my brother goes here and he's Justin Castro, and they were like, no, he's not your brother. And I was like, yeah, he's my brother. And they're like, no, why does he have a different last name? And to be honest, I didn't know at the time. So at home it was just mum and my brother and sister and I. My dad, he was on again, off again dad. At the time he was off again, which is fine, whatever. But we were actually, mum put us to bed at like 6 o'clock that night, and then just before 7:30, she was like waking me up, and she's like, come on. We snuck out to the living room, we sat down, it was just her and I, just in time for Stargate SG-1. Yeah, okay, that we're on Saturday. So we did that for years. Like, my mum she's like the most loving woman in the world. Like, I have the privilege of having one of those mothers who's just, gets me every time. And she invested as much time in my brother and sister in their own interests and loved us all equally, and that was great. But anyway, we're halfway through this episode of Stargate, and it came to an ad, and she used to mute the ads, and I remember I sort of felt really nervous at the time, and I was like, hey, Mum, why does Justin have a different last name? And I could see that she was quite, it was a confronting question for her as well, but she was always honest with me and always willing to share. So she sort of said, well, Dad. And I was like, yeah. She was like, he's not actually Justin's dad. Now that's a pretty big thing for a 7-year-old, And I kind of was like, what does that mean? Like, are we not related? And she was like, no, like, I'm all of your mother, you're all related, that's it. And I remember processing that, and I sort of asked, but dad is like my dad and Sarah's dad, right? She had this face that, there was another one of those faces, and I was like, oh, okay. But she said, no. She said, no, Dad is Sarah's dad, and you have a different dad. And don't get me wrong here, my mum just wanted to love. She has all the love to give, and she gave it to these guys who just took advantage of her, and it was sad. But she said, you have a different dad. He's a man named David. And I remember asking what he looked like, and she told me he was tall and had dark hair and green eyes, and I had this picture of this guy, and I kind of felt excited, because one, I was relieved that Dad wasn't my dad, but wow, there's someone else, and it kind of made sense in a way, in a cosmic, oh, I already knew that kind of way. But I remember I asked her, where's he? Where's he? And she held my hand and very, very kindly told me that he wasn't alive anymore. And I remember that being the first time that I felt that physical sensation of my heart sinking. That first time I felt heartbreak. And she was just kind, she was there for me, and I cried and she cried. And I think we watched the rest of the episode of Stargate. Yeah. And you know, it was a big moment for us, and basically after that, I decided never to ask again. Like, that was enough. That was fine. I had my mum. She was, as I said, she was awesome. So anyway, I pushed on with life, and then I met Leah, and she just gets her nose in everyone's business. So we're driving along, and she's like, "But wait. So you don't know? Like, you don't know anything? Like?" And I was like, "No, I don't know. That's it. Like, his name's David. He's tall. He's got dark hair. Very nice." And she was like, "How can you not know? How can you not be like wanting to know?" And I guess I don't know. I was content, but she pushed and pushed and pushed, and eventually I was like, "Fine. We'll work it out." And so I ended up at a later date calling my mum and saying, "Hey, I was wanting to find out some more info about my biological father." And Mum, I guess, like, she was just fine. She was like, yeah, I'm sorry, but I kind of don't really have anything else to tell you. We were together only for a really short time, but the time we were together, it was intense. Yeah, you know, like, but she said he was a friend of your uncle, so like maybe you could call your uncle and he could give you some more info. So I did that, and I told him that I talked to Mum, and she said talk to him, and he said, "Yeah, look, I'm sorry, but your dad was actually like a friend of a friend." I was like, "Oh shit." Too hard. No, but he told me that his friend was named Nick, and I remember this guy who was a weirdo. He was a real weirdo. He always had this epic beard, and he just was weird. He was a weird guy. Anyway, I called him, and I didn't know if the number was, like, if he was going to pick up or anything, because it had been a long time. But anyway, he did pick up, and I was like, "Hi, is this Nick?" And he's like, "Yes." And I was like, "I'm Jamie. I'm like Jason's nephew and James." And he's like, "Yes. I've been waiting 20 years for this call." I told you he was a weirdo. So he sort of like gave me a bit more info, and he said, you know, he told me about my dad briefly, and him and my dad were best friends when they were like my age now, so like in their early 20s kind of thing. And they used to ride motorbikes all around Australia, and I was like, "Oh, cool, you guys are cool." And he told me my dad's his surname was Petros, and I was like, "Okay, cool." So I had a name, but that was all he could give me. I had nothing else, and so last resort, Google! I did actually punch the name into Google, and believe it or not, it came up with Ancestry.com. And there was a name in there, David Petros, and his age, years, roughly matched like what I knew of my dad. And there was 4 other profiles, so it had his mother and his father and a sibling of some sort. But it was the father and the sibling, their names were private, so I couldn't see, and I could see the mother's name was Judy. Yeah, I might have got confused there. It doesn't matter, it's ridiculous. Anyway, I emailed the lady. I was like, "Look, I don't know if you can help me. This is my story. I'm just looking for this guy. I just want to know if I can get any more info about him or who he was and whatever." And literally within 30 minutes, I got a phone call. And this lady on the other line was like, "Hi, I just got your email. I think I'm your auntie." And like, I honestly had not considered the fact that I might have other relatives that I don't know. It's just like, you know, Dad, he just existed on his own. It was wild. So she lives down in Melbourne in Albury. She flew up to Brisbane to meet me, and it was very exciting. And I'd seen her pictures on Facebook, and even if I hadn't seen her, I think I still would have known who she was when I saw her, because you know, like that uncanny, like you look into your relatives' faces, and you could see your own self in them. I was like, whoa, me, but a woman. Yeah, so we had an epic conversation. Like we sat down at this coffee shop for a couple hours at least, and she just told me like everything there was that she could tell me. And I was really in shock at the time. Like it was a big situation. Now I hardly remember anything she told me, except like a few key things. And I guess it was exciting. It was exciting. But one of the key things she kind of told me about him was that he was a pretty sad guy. Like he was really low, you know. Like he did live like an on the road life, and he was out and about and travelled around and kind of disappeared for a while as well, I heard. She actually gave me a pile of letters that he'd written, and I saved them, and I ended up reading them, and even in reading them there's a lot of darkness in there. And he was actually in love with this woman who, you know, he was just obsessed with this woman, and for whatever reason they weren't together, and that obviously broke him, it was really sad. I remember sort of at the end of our conversation, like kind of wanting to know about like how he died. And so she told me that he actually he killed himself. But what was kind of ironic about it, well, not ironic, I don't know if that's the right use of the word, he actually drove himself out to Boondah wetlands, and he put a hose in the car and gassed himself. I guess he found a lot of peace in that area too. Like, it's a nice place.